This conference will now be recorded.
In the last class, we have seen the framework level updates, including the coding part for demo AAT application. And we have used various concepts of automation and XPaths, like I told you, different kinds of XPaths, including apps, the relative XPath and the complex XPath, etc. So the notes as them. So in case any complexity occurs, we will see by means of examples. So these examples will illustrate all of those. Example one is just for A, right? A contains href, and this is the href value and image. So you have to provide whatever the type of object is, then contains property name, then within single quotes property value. So if it is a text, nothing is given, then it would be text, and text has to be like this. And whatever is the value, partial or full, doesn't matter because we have mentioned the contents, and you have to mention exactly, including case sensitivity like T capital. And if yeah, so if you need to provide multiple multiple properties or multiple relatives, then that would become complex XPaths. These are actually examples of simple XPaths. Simple XPaths. And complex XPaths would mean there is a little bit of complexity. That means in terms of multiple properties or multiple relatives, like I said. So multiple properties should be always separated by the keyword and. So in case you need to use or, so for example, let's say there is a property which is either this or that, depending on the situation, then you can use, I think or is a keyword, but most likely you will be using and only. Or you don't have to use, because that would be you don't need to use, but in case you need to use, just use or. I do not use this symbol. It's I mean, not that symbol, the pipe, that's in Java, so you have to use or. Okay, so like I said, you don't need to use or, and is the only keyword you need to use. And this goes like this. Let's say this is what we are trying to understand, right? So then this is the type of object is, okay, you have to start from double slash here. So what is the type of object here? A, and it contains title this and also contains href this. So and has to be both for contains. Okay, so you have to repeat contains, property name, property value, and then repeat the contains again. So some people make mistake like contains @title overview of Selenium and href about. So that's not right. So you have to repeat contains, because contains means something as a child. Okay, so that may not be immediate, because this double slash means it could be child, child, or child's child, or child's child, whichever it is. So but it so like I said, whatever like followed, that is called child, and you can mention properties for the child all or parent. So li contains bracket bracket at the rate, let's say property name is name, and let's say li list item is for uh, or counting, let's say. Okay, and close the bracket appropriately. So this would be very complex. So we will use this if we get a chance. So all the important nodes I have given related to XPath. Double slash means relative, single slash means immediate, exact match use this, partial match use this. XPath must be valid and should yield one match only. That's the overall. And we will see the table XPath later. But let's try and run the last code, whatever we ran last time. Okay, this is the one. So in which we have automated till flight reservation, right? And something is pending, and which I have given it for homework, I guess. Let's see where we are. Okay, so this is where we stopped on Sunday, right? So I have given you task for selecting depart flight as United Airlines, which is the last one, and return type as United Airlines, the last one, and click on the continue. Anybody progressed on that?
Yes, I did. I sent it already.
Okay, so you have done it, right? That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were able to run it, whatever you automated, and it was able to select this radio button, this, and click continue, and you ran it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So that's what we want. So for this, what did you write in the code? What are the different classes you have created or updated? Can you tell me?
One second.
So you have done, but what pages you have created? Yeah.
I create a class on face object and select lens object and
What
face.
I'm saying, yeah. So for automating one page, this is the whole page, right? Now you have automated it successfully ran. So for this, you must have updated something here. Wherever you updated, tell me. You got my point.
Where I update? Yeah, I update in operation.
Operation.
Sorry, no, I love the operation. I just create two class. One is page close and one is page object, and then I call the test. And
That's correct. Yeah, page flows and page objects.
page object. Yeah.
To be correct. You don't have to touch operations because we have.
I didn't do an operation because everything in there. So
Correct.
I didn't,
That's true. So click radio button is already there, so there was no need. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's try and do that. So first and foremost, we have to create a page object, and page name is, take the page name, select flight. And is there a page? Is there a class in the page object by the name selected? No. So we have to create one. I mean, if you know anyone other than you have done it, that's okay. That's good job. But we will do it here. Select flight is the name, so go with the same name as the page name, like I told you, and just put object or because that's how you going to differentiate between page objects and page flows. Object word will tell you this object, page will tell you it's a page flow, so that's easy to remember later. Okay, now as usual we will put we will also create one page flow immediately so that we don't forget. and this one I want to call by the same name, select TT, but suffix will be page. Okay, so both are created, and come back to the page objects, and here we are going to put the XPaths. So I want to create XPath for this one, so I'll right click on this and inspect, right? Okay, so we'll create, this should not be a problem. Everybody has to be able to create the XPaths by now. If you get any problem, tell me right now. And how do you write? Type of object, input, and there are 18 inputs. I redo it. Select the same object. Exactly, you have to select the same thing. Now contains, and then which one you want to pick up. So there are, if you pick name, outflight, all these 4 will have the same name, so you cannot go for that. So the unique name will be value, because it says specifically United Airlines $363, $281 at 11:24.
Sangam, there is some noise, so that's why I could not hear you.
Okay, so somebody can mute. Can you mute? Somebody is unmuted. Everybody mute yourself so that you can hear my voice clearly. Okay, thank you. I think everybody is muted except for me. Okay, so now you can hear clearly, right? I think so. Okay, so input contains, and value is the value is supposed to get me unique match, because my gut feeling tells me that outflight, all of these are outflight. So if I don't use, I might use, but if I want to use the name, I have to use value also. But let's try with the value, because that has a unique value, Unified Airlines. In case there are other Unified Airlines, you're not gonna get. So you have to work. So at the rate value, and since contains refers to the partial match, I don't have to go for all these numbers, right? Because depending upon the number of passengers and the day I'm flying, the price could vary, right? So it may not be unique. Next time it might be different, right? And it is subject to change. And so that's the reason I am not going for all the value. I am only going for this Unified Airlines. That's it. So let's take, but take till here only, because this is a constant value. I don't have to worry about the dynamic value. So still one of 2 matches, right? Why? Because there is one more value with the same property value, United Airlines or Unified Airlines depart flight and return flight. So we have to work on it literally. So let's
I use demo together, so that's
now you can give the name. See, this actually is outflight, this is the inflight. So that's a good one. So let me put and keyword. Now this becomes a complex XPath, and contains at the rate name, comma, this one, whatever is this, I'm going to copy outflight. Okay, outflight is not copying, so I'll type it. Just type it carefully. Out, F capital, FLIGHT. Okay, so now I have a single match. That means there is only one outbound flight, which is by the name Unified Airlines. So I got a single match. Perfect. So I'll go back and create. What should be the signature of this variable? Tell me. Public static final string. Correct. If you're creating a private variable, then obviously you will not be able to access this, because it's private to this current class. So in that case, if at all you want to keep this secret, that means private to this class, you can create private, but you have to create a function, right, that returns this value, the getter kind of function, so that you don't have to let this variable's value to others. If you think it's secure device you don't want to tell, then you can create a function. Then obviously this value will be unknown to the user, and you will only be able to get that value by the get XPath for this depart flight. So for now we are good, so we don't have to worry about that. In some projects we can do that, but in case you want to use the airline's flight price and everything also, you can also create a function. So if we get a chance, I'll show you, but right now it's not required, so we'll only do that on the need to do basis. So first thing is the naming convention has to be in such a way that the type of the variable, type of the object has to be mentioned, then followed by the underscore, then followed by the name of the object. So what is the type of object? Obviously it's radio button, and underscore, and what is the name of the object? It's a depart unified airlines, something like this. This name can be your choice. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but just use your common sense. Name it. Okay, so one is done, and let's do the other and other also. Then we will be done with this page. So my gut feeling tells me that I can change couple values, and I'll get match for this guy, this one, right? So we just did with this one, and I want to get this one. So let's see what kind of object is this. It's input box and in flight. So I'm gonna go and change out to in. I mean, this is shortcut. I mean, if you don't want to work from the beginning, you can do this. And value is unified airlines again, so no problem. So this is just the type of the flight changes from input in flight to out flight to in flight. So I'm gonna copy this over, and this is again shortcut, saving time. So instead of depart, I would call it return, and quickly copy this, paste it over here, and one more, the last one. Okay, so that's input true, and image type is image, name is reserved flight, source is this URL, width, height, these are all useless, so I'm gonna go for name, reserved flights. So let's change. We don't need the whole contains and contains, right? So I'm gonna delete the one contains, and name will be, that's it. So just hover over it and make sure it's selecting whatever you are interested to operate upon. So I'm going to copy this, but before this I'll copy this, and this one will be a link or button actually. So let's call it button because it looks like one, and continue. And there may be other continue buttons in the previous pages, so they don't need to worry. You can name it appropriately because the class name will be different. So you're going to call this by class name, so it will be unique. Control C, and we are done with the page objects for this particular page. Now we are going to define this flow, how you're gonna go to that button, what you're gonna do, click, and how do you go navigate to the next page. So one is depart, one is return. Okay, so here I have two choices. I mean, either I can dump everything in single function, or I can segregate. One function will be called depart, one function will be return, one continue. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. So just use your common sense. I don't have to, because I must select one depart flight and one return flight, so there is no option here, and you must continue, and there is no validation I can do here. I want to do the validation next page, so I want to put everything in single function. So if you want to create 2-3 functions separately, that's up to you. We have created multiple functions before, so I'm doing both ways so that you will know what to do. It's up to you. You can choose whatever you want to do. Public void, and I want to call this depart and return. Okay, because select flight, and I'm just selecting depart flight and return flight. You can say depart and return flight selection. That's up to you. Naming convention is totally the coder's choice, where is coding. And like I told you, everything has to be driver driven by the WebDriver, which we are going to pass from the driver, right? So if you some people, what they do is they just want to keep this empty, that means no arguments, but they can get the driver as a getter. So that's the other side. There are multiple ways. This is one of those ways, probably the best way. So let's use WebDriver, and here I wanna call something. That means my operation would be to select the ready button. So either I can go, okay, so just hover over it and import, because that's new for this class. Okay, so how do you click ready button? Normally you would do driver dot, then I mean this is normal way, because every day I will show you one normal way, and then we'll go with the usual way, our framework way. So first you have to find element. By class has different functions, right? Class name, by selector, and I want to go for XPath function, which takes the argument XPath expression, which is a string variable. Okay, so this XPath expression I can directly pass from the page objects. You can still pass this XPath expression as string. That means you can create two arguments, WebDriver and string, but I don't want to do that, right? Because it can be directly accessed, right? So I can pass string, and I can pass this XPath expression in the test case from select flight of page object. That is another way, but let's not do that, because the let's keep this function simple. The simpler the better. Okay, so XPath expression would be coming from select flight object. So here you can differentiate easily just by the last word, obj page. Now obj and dot, and I want to click on ready button, depart, so I can directly select. Okay, so then you can apply dot click. Click is the operation for the radio button, same as link. This is the primitive way. I mean, this is the basic way. I mean, this is still useful if you're asked the question in the interview. How do you select radio button? You can say driver dot find element by XPath and pass the XPath expression. But we have developed a framework, right? So we'll use a framework, and framework has the infrastructure operations. Okay, so I don't want to create an instance of operation every time, okay, even though I'm calling it a non-static way. So I told you, without creating one, you can use a new keyword, right? Because there are only 3 times I want to call from the operations, one for radio button, the other for radio button, then button, right? So new operations, just control C space will tell you what operations you want to call. This one is the one, because I know for a fact that it resides in infrastructure package, and the class name is operations. So bingo. Now dot will list out all the variables and methods that you have defined, and here I want to choose which one. Operations, what? Click
radio button.
Radio button. Okay. And it is asking me to enter driver. Driver is already passed from here, and XPath expression I can pass it from the page object. Select right obj dot radio button, bingo. Okay, so I'm keeping both by commenting the first primitive way or basic way, and this is little advanced way. And advanced way is for you or project. The basic way is to tell in the interview purposes. You know, you cannot say new operations because they don't know what new operations is. Okay, so the next thing is written, and if you wanna be very clear, you can mention the comment. So this will be for readability purposes. I mean, whoever is reading or reviewing your code, they will understand easily just by looking at the comments. Written flight, and written flight will be easier again. I just want to go for the framework way. So instead of just the first one is just for one time only, just for reference. New operations dot click radio button, the driver is passed, and select flight object dot radio button, the second one.
That should be radio button. Click radio button.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean both are same. It will do the job. Click and link and radio button. But you're right. Good catch. So that's that, and finally we will submit page. That means continue button. Okay, now you tell me, how do you call this one? Yes, how do you click this guy? Okay, what is the what is the operation? Yeah, because I can see this is a actually. This is actually input, because whatever you want to submit the page, that is called input still. Okay, so that's why it says input. But it is a link button. It doesn't matter. So all I'm trying to do is just click. So I'll call click. Otherwise, I have to rename this as click, link, or button, or submit. That will be too lengthy name. So let's stick with this name, and the proper XPath will be coming from here. And there is only one button. That's that. Okay, so that's done for this. And finally, what we have to do, one more step is remaining, that is to call the page objects. Page objects, then page flows. But unless and until you call this page flows, the test, it won't run. So let's call. So I want again put a comment, select flight. And we are calling non-static way. So new select flight. So now you choose page, not object. So here it is, dot, and there is only one function, that is first one, selected one. That's it. So let's run and see if it runs. Otherwise we have to fix, that means debug. Okay, so we are landed in book a flight, which is the last button page. There is one more page after this, and here we have to fill all these blanks. Okay, now before doing this page, I want to show you some framework level enhancements. The coding is done, but we have to do some framework level updates too, right? So let's start from the home page, because that is the first page, and we have to do this in the page flows. And let's see if I am passing any data like test data, input data. So this is just a click of link. There is no input data that I am passing or filling the fields. So I'll go to the next page, which is register page. I know the flow because we have done many times, right? So after home page, register page, then register confirm page, then flight finder page, then comes the select flight page. So if you don't understand the flow, then just write it down in some Excel spreadsheet, but do not put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, because that will look very awkward. Right, so here obviously we are entering couple details, right? Let's see what are those. And what is the test data that we are inputting here? This is all test data. That means we are entering Selenium as first name, automation as last name, phone number, email, address, blah blah blah, right? Username, password. Now this is called hard coding, which is not good. And what we have to do to avoid the hard coding is parameterization. So that means this data, as a automation guy, you need to pass it from somewhere which you can update or drive, or you can you should be able to perform the black box testing or input validation testing using boundary value analysis and equivalence partition, class partition techniques, right? Yes, yes.
I have a question. So you have written the different way, the writing the fine element, but before you just learn driver dot fine element by XPaths. Yeah. and
Yes.
XPath or ID or name, anyway we can find the element, right? But
Right.
now you showing the operation, new operation dot like different method. So
No.
if I follow your driver dot find element by XPath, the one, I can automate the script, right?
Correct. Yeah, you can automate. So this is what you can do. So this is the primitive way, driver dot find element by XPath.
Yes.
Path
That
XPath.
way actually I understand well.
Yes, this is the basic, and you must understand there is no other choice, because
Yeah, and
otherwise
then
you
you.
cannot explain. Now this is advanced one, and this is actually easier than this, because if I want to click on radio button, click on link, I have to like remember. I mean, I don't have to remember, but I should still memorize, or I mean understand this basic concept, how I am able to operate upon an element. But my job will be easier if I use this reused function,
Click
because
radio button. Okay.
by definition is supposed to make your job easier. Okay, so first, for example, I want to click a radio button. The first thing that comes into my mind is, like, for example, I am automating like 200 pages. Then first thing that comes into my mind is, and there is an operation class, and bingo, I just call the function called click radio button.
Okay.
That will be easier than this, right? And maintenance will be a lot easier with this, not with this. This is for understanding, and this still you have to use. But where did I use driver.find element? In the operations class here. I still use this in infrastructure. Infrastructure has to have basic way. There is no other way. So in case you need to like explain to interviewer, or you need to still understand practice, you can practice in the operations. You know what I mean? So here still we are using, even if for example I want to get text on the page. Now what is a way? Drive.find element by XPath, then there is a function called get text. Correct, that return. So in case you need to understand something basic level, fundamental level, come to operations. Okay. But if you wanna like use this in the page level flows, I would suggest just use it in the beginning, just like this. I used in the beginning, and just for the reference, I left it instead of deleting it. But just use operations.setText, operations.click, something like this. Okay. So this way you will still be in touch with the basic, but still will be able to use the advanced. I mean, you should still do the. You should still be able to do both ways. I'm not saying forget about this. You should not forget about the basic. This is the base. That's why it's called basic. But just to make your job easier, you also do it practice this way and that way. So mostly the in real time project you will be doing this way, because it's easier, and they prefer, your automation lead will prefer this way rather than that way.
Okay. Text.
When somebody asks like how do you set text in a text box, you should be able to tell them like, using driver.find element by, I'll choose XPath function, pass the XPath expression, and there's a function called send keys, and I'll just call this and pass the input value. That's the way you answer it.